What up, everyone? Today I'm talking about one particular unit that I found you can actually get for free, and it essentially is a super fast track towards one of the dungeons, level 15. I'd say with decent gameplay, not counting the runes, you can set up the whole team for this dungeon in just a day, in my opinion. I'll explain the mechanics of this dungeon. So, first of all, I must say that based on the rune choices, this is my top one dungeon which you should farm, since you get a fatal set which basically can fit on a majority of damage dealers, as well as a guard set which you can fit on a majority of tanks, healers, stuff like that. So for early slash mid game players, these two sets will cover a big majority of your units, and after that, after farming a few runes and getting some legendary or at least hero grade runes, you can use those to branch out to other dungeons. For example, the Tirg Landscape, in my opinion, is the second best. But yeah, for the beginning, this dungeon, in my opinion, is the best to farm, and now that we get a free unit that basically counters this dungeon extremely hard, you are able to build a high level team without much setup. Previously, the best free to play option was the Fire Fairy because she removed the attack down effect on her second skill and removed the defense up skill or defense up effect with her third skill. But the problem with that was her cooldowns on those skills were a little high. When max, they are 18 seconds on the second skill and 24 on the third. The problem with that was the boss usually buffed up every few seconds. So if you took a hit while the boss had, for example, level 6 or higher attack buff, in most cases, you are really risking your unit dying. So essentially the cooldown she had on her skills made the runs really unreliable. I had this team running for level 14, but even then they had pretty good runes at the moment. So my team was Konamiya, Bastet, and Firefade. She's on rune now, but essentially this was my team for level 14, and it was pretty consistent, but it was only consistent because, first of all, I have Cleave as a champion. So he was providing defense break and attack speed break. But if you are building this team with a little lower quality runes or a little lower summoner power, not the power, but rather items, builds, summoner skills, like less skill points invested and stuff like that. Because, for example, he already has over 400 skill points for me, and that was a lot of extra skill points invested. So yeah, with that team, I was only able to do level 14. I could never crack level 15 just because Fire Fairy's debuffs were very inconsistent, and I would win only like every fifth or every fourth run, but other than that, it was all fails. And now that this little unit came out, so what I'm spotlighting now is the Water Lich, RIGEL. Essentially, this unit is an insane counter to that dungeon. Mainly because of his second skill. So essentially, whenever he attacks with the second skill, if the enemy has attack up or defense up effects, he basically replaces them with the identical harmful effects. So if he removes attack down, he gives attack, or rather, if he removes attack up, he gives attack down. If he removes defense up, he gives defense down. So he is able to consistently strip it, and the best part about this is you can use him right away. You don't need any skill ups. As you can see, I have 0 skill ups on mine. I will eventually skill him up, but I simply do not have enough dupes now. I got the Wind Lich and the Light Lich, but I never got any dupes for now. The good thing is he does not need skill ups because of his passive. Essentially, once you awaken him to level 5, he'll get this passive of becoming immune to all CC effects, which is first of all a great thing since that boss does stun, and resets the cooldown of his second skill by, I believe it is 10% each time you attack. Yeah, when you attack an enemy that has attack up or defense up, and as a bonus to that passive, if the enemy has level 3 attack up or defense up, it actually removes 40% of the cooldown. Now the thing about that boss is the debuffs, or rather the buffs he applies, start at level 3 and go up by 3 levels each. So whenever he gets a buff, he'll get a level 3 defense buff or a level 3 attack buff. And every few seconds, he will keep getting a few buffs, either attack buff or defense buff, by 3 levels each until he reaches 10. So essentially, the first part of his passive doesn't even activate on this boss. It straight up goes to the second part of the passive and reduces 40% of the cooldown. And this being a 30-second cooldown on level 1, each passive proc reduces 12 seconds, and you can increase it by increasing the attack speed of your Lich. So essentially, the main stats that you need to aim for are super high attack speed. His base attack speed is really low, so that's a bit of an issue. He only rocks like 80 attack speed. But once you give him a decent Swift set, if you do not have Swift, at least go for the slot 2 attack speed and as many attack speed subs as you can on each rune. So for example, this has 5, this one has 10. I try to get at least like 10 attack speed on each sub. I mean, that's the best I could do with my runes. This one is even HP, and HP is definitely not bad. He's not gonna be a main damage dealer. He's there for removing those buffs and replacing them with debuffs. So the main stats you need are attack speed, accuracy, and high precision. Any other stat is just a bonus. As you can see, like mine has a crit damage rune but has 0 crit rate pretty much. And I really don't use him for damage. I could even replace this with HP and it won't make that much difference. But yeah, you'll see how insane he is with high attack speed in the dungeon. As you see, you'll see that his 30-second cooldown, uh, by the speed that he's attacking with basic attacks, you'll see that his second skill will be available like every 3 or 4 seconds. Because it's just that insane. He just hits the boss like 2 times every second and just nukes the run. For example, I'm currently using a Bastet and Tiomars with him. It's a little bit less safe than with Konamiya, but if you do not have enough damage or you cannot sustain the boss, you can also go for something like this for more safety. So Konami will keep healing. I usually don't go for heals. So the team is less safe, but the runs are way faster. I actually gotten a 34-second run, which is pretty much a top 4 run. I'm not sure why it didn't register, but yeah, it's a top 4 run. On average, this team takes around 45 to 50 seconds, in my opinion. I tried to do like 30 runs yesterday, and that was around the average time I saw. And yeah, I'll try to jump into battle. Everyone is around, I believe. Yeah, and we'll see how it works. It does fail. I'm not saying it is 100% chance to not fail with this team, but the win rate, I would give it around 95%. Most of the fails are when the RIGEL dies. As you can see, he used up his second skill, and it is already up actually. And now he removed the attack buff, and he's attacking debuff. His skill is up again. Look, he just used the skill. His skill is up again. He just used the skill. Boss doesn't have any debuffs right now. Now he gets buffs, and he uses again. You can freely ignore whatever third skill he has. That's not important. It's just a self buff, but it's not a big deal for this run. So yeah, as you can see, he uses the skill again. He's up again. It's up again. It's actually insane. He attacks like twice per second. Yeah, and he just consistently strips those buffs. Defense buff is not as important to strip. It will lower your damage by quite a bit. But the problem with this boss is that his attack buff can cause your team to get one shot. So the main important thing is removing the attack buff. The debuff, or rather the defense buff, can stay for however long, but it is just nice to remove it. And yeah, I'm just gonna let a few more runs play out. As you can see, yeah, if you check the skill cooldown, he has 0 skill ups and he's just reducing that cooldown constantly. Whenever a buff comes up, it comes up as level 3. That means each basic attack hit has a 40% cooldown decrease, and the chance to decrease the cooltime is, I believe, does it say the chance? Yeah, it says a certain chance, however, it does not specify the chance. Yeah, so it looks like it is 10% for when the debuffs are level 2 or lower, but when it's 40%, it's 100% chance. So actually, it's even more consistent than I thought at first. So yeah, 100% chance to remove both attack buff and debuff buff, or rather defense buff, whenever this bot gets it, since the buffs are always level 3 or higher. So yeah, just running 2 more runs, we'll see how he works. The previous one was around 46 seconds. So yeah, as I said, around 45 to 50 seconds is what you can expect with this team. While it runs, I'll show you the runes of the units. So my Bastet is rocking this, I guess, random set. I'm not sure why I put it like that. Yeah, I think I made a newer set. So just mostly HP, some accuracy on her to land that attack buff. Mars is running an attack speed build as well. He has some sustain, but it's mostly built around attack speed, crit hit, and crit damage. And the RIGEL runes you already saw. He is on Swift. He needs attack speed. You definitely can get higher attack speed than me, since my runes are basically Sift, slow to attack speed, and the rest of the subs are only 1 or sometimes 2 upgrades into that substat. So you can definitely get additional like 20 to 30 attack speed if you have even better runes than mine, and make this team even more consistent. So yeah, you can of course upgrade the team and its consistency as well as speed by skilling him up. The skill ups are not as important, but they do decrease their cooldowns a bit, especially the second skill, which doesn't get reduced with cooltime. The third skill rather. The second skill will constantly get cycles, so the cooldown on that does not impact it that much. It does increase the decrease chance, since skill 2 is not 100%, so you can go from 55 to 75% for even more consistent runs. But it's definitely not necessary, and you can start using him right away. After this boss is done, I'll show you how you can get this unit completely for free. You can actually complete one of the challenges, and the challenge is pretty easy. Oh, we even got a legendary, nice. So yeah, on a minute 6 run, a little longer. It seems like probably some debuffs didn't land at first. So there's that. If you go to your book, the collection challenge, and scroll to the right side, there's actually a quest where if you complete all 3 quests, you get the water lich for free. So the quests are basically just collecting several materials. So these you'll most likely, if you do not spend much on professions, you will have a lot of these from the random boxes that you open. The fishes you will most likely need to go fishing for. Tiger rockfish and trout are super easy to get. I got 30 of those in like 10 to 15 minutes in those respective spots. Salmon, I do not recommend fishing and instead going to buy it. I've tried fishing for salmon, but the problem is with salmon is they do not have a specific spot for them, so they are usually just a rare catch in some other fish spots, so it is better to just buy it. From what I fished, I tried like 3 different spots for salmons, and I believe I caught 1 salmon in like an hour, so it's definitely a long a long process to catch those, and I recommend buying them. They're pretty cheap in the market. I think yesterday they were like 3 times cheaper. It might be that people are finally buying them for this achievement. And yeah, the third challenge is just some ingots. Those are pretty easy. Iron ingot, super easy. Silver ingot, super easy to collect as well. Thin lumber will be a little bit annoying since you need a lot of branches, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, each thin lumber is like 3 branches, and branches are not 100% drop rate, but they also don't take a long time. I think I've done mine like 20 minutes at most. And yeah, I just got the RIGEL, built him up, gave him the best attack speed that I've had with decent accuracy subs, and essentially you get a free level 15 Forgotten Earth Shrine team. If you cannot do level 15, of course you can go for lower levels, but the monster himself will boost you by a lot. If you haven't been using him for this dungeon, but you've been farming the dungeon, I suspect that you will go at least 2 or 3 levels higher than your current team does, because he's basically built for this dungeon. And yeah, just wanted to shout out this amazing unit and why you should build him. The thing is, for closing this video, he's he's not really useful anywhere else from what I've looked, but just the fact that he's able to farm this dungeon makes him an amazing unit to build early on. Once you are able to do the dungeon with other teams, which actually will be hard to do, you can just reset him whenever using a reset stone if you really don't like building units for one specific dungeon, or if you have finished farming that dungeon and do not plan on going back to it. But yeah, other than that, hope you enjoyed and see you in the next one.